and get to hear your thoughts. Of course, just in a moment, we'll open up the phone lines and get to hear from you, Susan.
Yes. Well, I thank you so very much for having me here today, and not just to talk about the Stop Creek, but to awaken the consciousness of citizens having to do with a situation that has caused the loss of lives of so many Akwa Ibom sons and daughters, and their livelihood had been destroyed or jeopardized, and that's talking about the Stop Creek controversy. I want to make a request, Madam Speaker. You can say I'm breathing heavily.
Please don't breathe heavily.
Yes. I got back home almost about 11 to 12 midnight, and then my health is not quite okay. So certain things I was to research, I could not do it. This is a continuous conversation. I would love a situation whereby you bring me back again, and when we look into documents, we will put verbatim from available legal documents and something that borders on a panel of inquiry, and we'll also be able to see some things from the government side having to do with the Stop Creek Forest Reserve. Yesterday, I was able to just give us a bit of an intro to the fact that my organization, Open Forum, had a press conference where we spoke about the Stop Creek Forest Reserve. We also talked about a very terrible situation going on at Ikoro Paden in Padeni, where government did a water project, energy water project since 2011, massive thing, and was never handed over to the community and has never been in use, and the environmental crisis going on there because of the oil exploitation. We also talked about Orowanam issue where things are happening, and a number of things. Now, the issue that we need to deal with, like you played the tape, was it audio? You read from the
press statement
of
the government, yes.
In fact, I would have loved, because this should be like a workshop, I would have loved where maybe you recap some of those things, because certain persons may not have the knowledge
no problem
of what we are really going to deal with. So, because of how I like doing my things, to make it very elementary, I wouldn't mind if you have the excerpt, you can play it. You have you actually have the press release by government, which has altered whatsoever agitators to the Stop Creek were holding on to. Recall, Eket lays claim to the Stop Creek based on 1918 Privy Council judgment. The case actually started, I think, 1916. And by 1930, that Stop Creek was gazetted as a reserve, not taken away from people that won the case. That's why I'm saying I will have to be able to read from documents. I can do that now. And furthermore, there were crises that led to expanding the conversations. But at no point from the research I have been able to do with my organization did we come across where government changed the status of the Stop Creek Forest Reserve to become a government reservation area. If that had been done, it will give us an understanding of where the statement, like you read yesterday, paragraph 3 of the press statement by the Kwame State government dated 6 January 2026 says That's the title is Legal Status of Stubbs Creek Forest Reserve. Paragraph 3, and let me start from paragraph 2. Okay, let me start from paragraph 1. The government of Akwa Ibom State has noted recent publications circulating in the social media, in the social and conventional media by a group known as Eke People's Union concerning the ownership and legal status of land within the area known as Stubbs Creek Forest Reserve. The government would ordinarily not want to comment on this matter as there is a pending suit filed by the same group before a court of competent jurisdiction involving issues surrounding the Stubbs Creek Forest Reserve. It has, however, become necessary in the overriding public interest to correct serious misrepresentations made in the public space. And this is the big one. Paragraph 3. Contrary to claims being circulated, the historic litigation, the case of Ntiaro and Ipak versus Ibok Etogopan and Edoeka, culminating in the 1918 decision of the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council, did not vest ownership of Stubbs Creek land in any ethnic group or community. Note that the final judgment merely dismissed the claims before the court and granted title to no party whatsoever. Any assertion to the contrary is false, misleading, and a distortion of the judicial record. I promised yesterday that I was going to reach out to the government of Akwa Ibom State, and I also reach out to the main agitators, Eket people, to see if we can assess the record, the Privy Council judgment. I did send a message to the Attorney General who signed this. This press release was signed by Uko Esenodun San, Honorable Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice. A man I respect, much respect. I've been communicating with him on other issues because we bring ideas to the table. I sent a message and appeal to him that this is the information we need based on the release of government, because we are working on how we can help His Excellency to have this matter resolved. We don't take sides in issues. It does not matter who is right or who is wrong. What matters is justice. And where the person that is supposed to be a mediator or the final arbiter of a decision becomes an interested party, then you have to look for an external, competent external person or institution to intervene. And that is why when we had the press conference, our advocacy, which I said yesterday, is that since the governor himself has been accused by AK People's Union of not doing the needful, because the main allegation is that the Stubbs Creek Forest has been partitioned, sold to individuals, and then sold to companies, not really first under the administration of Pastor Moino, but started under Deacon Udom Emmanuel's administration when Bois was brought in. Other companies have come in. And then you add the latest dimension of the coastal highway. So the challenge now is, since Eket people do not have confidence that His Excellency the Governor can handle this matter, we have advocated that the Akwa Ibom Elders Council, headed by His Excellency the overall father of modern Akwa Ibom, should be the one to oversee this thing. Maybe not necessarily as a Obon Victor Tar, but as a chairman. And then, since a number of the members of that council may have whatever interest in the matter, you just select people, then co-opt patriots, not partisan politicians, because a number of persons who should be able to solve this matter are so partisan that it is what matters to them may be the office they hold, and the fact that the Napoleon is always right mentality, where this governor's body language, don't go against and all of that. We need a high-powered think tank, but to be headed by His Excellency Architect Victor Ota. And what would that committee do? What would that think tank do? What would that mediatory team do? Our recommendation is that they are to sit for a period and ask agitators to the ownership of the land to come with whatever documents. And those documents includes the issue of Privy Council. Those documents includes whatever Ibno has that they can bring, because Ibno clearly said not too long ago, in fact last year, that they own the Stock Creek forest, that Eket are liars. They really went to the extent of indicting the judge that gave the judgment, which means the judgment that is available, which is seen by Ibno, are given the land to Eket. That is why they are against how that judgment was given. And this goes at variance with what government has said in this latest press release, that the Stock Creek, the judgment, dismissed the claims before the court and granted title to no party whatsoever. I'm privileged to have a copy of the Privy Council judgment, but permit me not to read it today, because I still want to see what I can get from government, because Ukodum SAN has not responded yet, and he's the authority when it comes to this matter. But be that as it may, the issue now is the Stock Creek only about Eket or an Ibno? The answer will be no, because I have gone to Oro Nation to ask some persons who have insight, and they have told me the Stock Creek, Mbu has a portion, Esreke has a portion, Ibno has a portion, Eket has a portion. So these are to be defined. Where are the boundaries? And then, what will be one of the most striking things we will need to see? That, okay, like the governor said, this judgment is long ago. If you had wanted to do something, you want to go and live in the past and all of that, you go and live in the past, things have changed. And when you look at the text of the president talking about legal status, anything legal will be difficult to dismiss. And in this vein, this is an insight to one of the information that I have gotten. I wouldn't want to read verbatim today, because I need to be careful to take down the notes and then to be very concise. But, Madam Speaker, you may be hearing this for the first time. Are you aware that Mobile Producing Nigeria was constructed within the Stock Creek Forest Reserve? And for that to have happened, there was an application for the reserve to be excused, as in there's a particular term. Yeah, you lit that portion. A clear portion of land that was requested was removed. Yes. And that was how Mobile was built. And do you know who they paid the compensations to? The compensation for the land.
What was it paid to?
Was paid to a group of villages, which is said to be in Eket. When Mobile was to do expansion of the QIT terminal, another round of getting approval to excise more part of the forest reserve, it had to be gazetted. Clear dimension. And the compensation, I understand, there was an uproar, because even a complaint that the compensation should be paid to them. But from available information, the compensation for the additional portion of land for Mobile in the forest reserve was still paid to the Edo group of villages. And a government letter on payment of compensation to a group of villages. This is dated 17 February 1998. Office of the Commissioner, Minister of Agriculture, and written to His Excellency the Military Administrator then. Like I said, I don't want to read today, but the header was payment of compensation to a group of villages. And the approval was given. And in another letter dated 9th March 1998, as recent as that, another letter, payment of compensation to a group of villages from Government of Akwa Ibom State, Office of the Military Administrator. Maybe this one is brief enough. Please permit me to take this one. Honorable Commissioner, Minister of Agriculture, Natural Resources and Rural Development, Block 1, Secretariat Complex, Uyo, payment of compensation to a group of villages. I am directed to refer to your letter, of February 17, 1998. That was the one I said earlier. On the above subject matter, and to convey to you His Excellency the Military Administrator's approval for payment of the amount is here in millions to a group of villages through the name of the person in the chambers was also mentioned, and a copy of this Excellency's approval is attached there for guidance. The approval for that payment of compensation, and that is as recent as 1998. So what we should be looking at is between that time and now, when did the Akwa Ibom State government take over the ownership of the Stubbs Creek, not as a forest reserve again, but as a government reservation area? This is where the crux of the matter is, and my fear has always been, having worked closely with certain persons and know how aides deal with their bosses. The Napoleon is always right mentality will never allow a number of leaders to succeed, because their aides may never be able to tell them, oh, Your Excellency, there was this. Secondly, a number of people lack institutional knowledge. Apart from the timidity and the manipulation they have to manipulate themselves so that they don't stand up to say, what is the mayor's number and all of that. So, these are some of the questions we will ask. When was the Stubbs Creek Forest Reserve converted? Because that cannot be done by words of mouth. It's a legal issue, to a government reservation area where the government can use the land, and through the Ministry of Lands and Lands, apportion the reserve, sell to individuals, and also sell to companies. And this is what led Eket in the instance, because people has not complained about payment of compensation. So I am going to reach out, because I have had the honor and the singular privilege of sitting with the paramount ruler of Ibno a few years ago when we worked on the what do you call that, National Water Resources Bill, very obnoxious policy that the federal government under Buhari's regime wanted to enact. And I had to meet all the paramount's in the state who signed the communique from our organization Open Forum. And I had audience in a very reserved place of the paramount ruler of Ibno, His Royal Majesty Owong Achanga. Now, I'm going to reach out to the paramount ruler. We'll possibly send somebody who will be able to help us make sense of the position of Ibno people, because even their stance has now been nullified by the state government's press release that nobody, no local government, no a tribe or ethnic nationality owns Stubbs Creek. This is strange. That's my fear, and because it is not easy for certain persons to undo what they have done, it now requires people with courage, patriotic people who must not just want to be politically correct, to say the truth. I'm not siding even on, God forbid. I'm gathering documents. That's why I refuse to read some of these things today. But by next coming, we'll be reading things from maybe 1918, like what I've just read, 1998, because what will have given AK people the audacity to demand for compensation if they have never ever gotten compensation before? And why should people like Chief Nwe lack institutional knowledge not to know that government had taken over Stubbs Creek? It doesn't belong to AK, but they are insisting. Why would the paramount of AK, one of the most brilliant human beings walking this earth, is over 80 something, lack institutional knowledge? Remember, he also signed a statement over the Stubbs Creek. So when we governor, in fact, Madam Speaker, the people must follow us in this conversation. If you have the audio, please play it so that we will analyze things based on, we analyze this issue based on what His Excellency has said and what is the government's position, so that we don't, nobody gets mixed up anywhere.